If 10,000-mile oil changes are perfectly safe, why do enthusiasts keep mailing jars of their oil to labs? In this video, I'll show you what those reports actually reveal: TBN crashing, silicon spiking, and wear metals creeping up, especially in turbocharged and direct injection engines. Stay with me. We'll compare real forum-backed success stories against UOA red flags that never show on your dash. By the end, you'll know whether your driving profile is a 10,000 winner or a quiet engine killer. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If 10K is so safe, why are owners paying out of pocket to send oil to a lab? That gap between confidence and verification is the whole point here, because a report doesn't care about a slogan. It reads what's actually in your oil and shows what the engine leaves behind. Mileage can't tell you that. Chemistry can. And once you see how the numbers move, you understand why some cars survive 10,000 miles cleanly, and others quietly chew themselves up long before that. Used oil analysis breaks the oil into signals that matter. TBN shows how much detergent reserve remains to neutralize acids. TAN tracks the acids building up, where metals like iron, aluminum, and copper trace where friction is happening. Silicon and sodium act like breadcrumbs for contamination. Fuel dilution reveals how much raw fuel thinned the oil. Viscosity shift tells you if the oil has sheared down or thickened. Each line on that sheet affects how well the film holds clearance, cushions bearings, and feeds tight passages. None of those lines care how far you drove. This is where the clash shows up. You hear about fleets running long drains and European intervals that look effortless. Then you look at US lab results from ordinary drivers and watch some oils stumble early. The discrepancy isn't hype, it's conditions. A controlled duty cycle with steady speeds isn't the same as short trips, cold starts, heat, and traffic. The lab sees those differences in black and white. Think of TBN as your detergent reserve. It's the cleanup crew for combustion byproducts. TAN is the acid score on the other side of the ring. When TBN falls and TAN climbs, acids start winning the fight. A report that shows TBN collapsing while TAN rises is the quiet signal the oil has reached the end of its useful life, even if the engine sounds fine and the dash smiles back at you. Direct injection makes the chemistry work harder. Fuel goes straight into the chamber, and during cold starts and short hops, more of it sneaks past the rings. That fuel thins the oil, dropping viscosity. Thinner oil struggles to maintain film strength, and where metals like iron start to creep up. Add turbo heat, and you stress the oil again, pushing it toward shearing and deposits around turbo bearings. The numbers line up with what owners see in these engines. Forum patterns repeat the same story. At 8,000 to 9,000 miles, some reports come back with TBN under 2, viscosity sheared, and fuel dilution hovering around 3 to 5%. The car starts, idles, and pulls like normal. No warnings, but the lab flags the sample because the oil isn't holding its spec anymore. That gap between feel and facts is where damage builds slowly and quietly. Silicon and sodium add more context. High silicon can mean unfiltered air is getting in through a cracked hose or a poor seal, dragging abrasive dust across cylinders. Elevated sodium can hint at coolant contamination. Both undercut the oil's additives and accelerate wear. A clean air filter, intact intake plumbing, and a cooling system that stays sealed are simple safeguards that buy you margin on longer drains. Not every engine fails at 10,000. Some pass with headroom. What separates them is usage, design, and oil behavior under your conditions. The takeaway is simple. UOA is not a certificate that says always or never. It's a test. Without those numbers, you're guessing. And guesses won't protect timing chains or VVT passages that rely on clean, correctly viscous oil to actuate on time. Now that you know what the lab flags, let's see which engines and driving patterns stack the deck against a 10K interval. What if your driving style quietly turns a 10,000-mile interval into sludge buildup and chain rattle? That's not theory. It happens when engine design and habits line up against the oil. Turbocharged direct injection sits at the top of the risk list, and it's not alone. Short trips that never warm the sump, frequent cold starts through winter, stop and go with heat soak, towing loads that spike temps, and long stretches in hot climates all stack stress on the oil. The result isn't always a warning light. It's fuel in the crankcase, viscosity slipping, and wear metals rising before you hit the number on the sticker. Owners who live on the highway tell a different story. Long runs at steady temperature tend to keep fuel out of the oil and let the additives do their work. That's why some UOAs look clean at 10,000 after months of mostly freeway miles. Move that same oil into a city cycle, lots of short hops and idling. And by 6,000 to 7,000 miles, the lab sees fuel dilution and a climb in iron. Same brand, same weight, same engine code. Different day-to-day use. Direct injection and turbos push oil hard from two directions. DI creates fine soot precursors that slip past rings, and it sends more raw fuel into the cylinder walls during cold starts. That fuel migrates into the sump and thins the oil, cutting film strength right where chains, followers, and bearings need it. The turbo adds heat. Bearings cooking at high temperature can coke oil if cool down is short or loads are high. Over time, varnish forms and small passages slow down. Timing chain tensioners and VVT solenoids don't like that. They depend on oil that hits a tight viscosity window to respond on time. Let's make it concrete. Two identical cars, same fresh oil, same climate. Car A spends 70% of its life on the highway. The owner commutes 30 miles each way, steady speeds, full warm-up every trip. At 10,000 miles, the UOA comes back with healthy TBN, stable viscosity, and low fuel. Nothing jumps off the page. Car B lives in town. 2-mile errands, lots of key cycles, plenty of idling. At 6,500 miles, the report shows 4% fuel, viscosity 1 grade low, and iron above the trend for that engine family. The car runs fine to the ear. The lab calls it what it is, oil on the edge. Modern timing chains make the stakes clear. They need clean, properly viscous oil to keep the links, guides, and tensioners happy. Dilution and varnish speed wear and stretch, which throws off cam timing and messes with VVT passages. That's when drivability quirks start, lazy phasing, rough cold starts, and codes that point to actuators, when the root cause is oil that aged out early under your pattern. Now, about the maintenance light. It doesn't measure TBN, TAN, or fuel. It reminds you based on algorithms and counters. Warranty language often carves out severe service and shortens the interval for the exact habits we're talking about. Short trips, extreme temps, heavy loads. Many owners don't realize their daily routine fits that box. If you rely only on the dash, you can be months behind what the chemistry has already decided. Can you still run long intervals safely? Yes, but only when the engine, oil, and usage support it, and your UOA backs it up. If your reports show fuel climbing or viscosity falling out of grade, cut back to 5,000 to 7,500 miles, or change when dilution crosses your threshold. That small tweak protects chains, turbos, and phasers far better than a calendar guess. You've seen the risk map. Now take control with a simple, repeatable plan to validate your own interval. Mileage is a guess, chemistry is the truth. An odometer can't tell you when acids win, when viscosity falls out of grade, or when wear metals climb. Without a UOA, a 10K interval can hide damage until it costs real money. Run a baseline used oil analysis at your current interval. If the data stays clean, healthy TBN, stable viscosity, low wear, extend with confidence. If TBN is low, fuel is high, or metals trend up, shorten now. A kit is cheap compared to timing chains and turbos. Next, we'll decode real UOAs on screen. Submit your report, and we'll break it down together.